Hi there, and welcome to ESL RPG. I'm David, and today we'll continue looking at Roll20. This time, in advice useful for both players and GMs, we will talk about macros, what they are, how to make them yourself, how to make them from a character sheet, and how to use them to make the game more accessible. First in Roll20, a macro is some command set you prepare to use quickly in the chat. You use them by typing #macroname. Almost any of the things you learned previously in the chat tools video can be put into a macro. You can include multiple commands in a macro or even nest macros together or add queries. There are some things macros can't do or that you're better off doing yourself. For example, macros are best done with finished commands, mostly finished commands, or options. If you are whispering a message to a player, it's best to type /w player name message because the player name will autocomplete anyway. Let's start with the easiest, a regular command string. Airy is a simple ogre. He has a favorite weapon he likes using, he uses it for the same reason usually, and he swings it the same way. So let's go to the collection tab next to the gear for settings. First entry is macros. Click the button to add and click the new macro to edit. Add a name. And this next section is where you write your commands. Separate commands must be put in separate lines, so we write Aries emote of swinging his maul, his catchphrase, he yells, one roll for the to hit, and another roll for the damage. Now quickly, let's test it to see if our macro works. And there we are, one successful run in the chat. Next, time for a spell. Airy likes using Cure Wounds to help people. We will first try this ourselves in case we haven't made a character sheet, or that sheet doesn't have that ability. So, new macro, new title, and /em casts Cure Wounds for the first line. But in 5e, you can cast spells at higher levels. Conveniently, Cure Wounds is 1d8 plus 1d8 for each level over level 1 plus spellcasting modifier. In math terms, 1d8 plus spell level minus 1d8 plus 3, which is Ares' charisma modifier. If we expand that, that's 1d8 plus spell level d8 minus 1d8 plus 3. That simplifies to spell level d8 plus 3. We will use a query to ask for the spell level and include the whole thing in line to tell people how much they healed. That looks like double bracket, question mark, curly bracket, level, close curly bracket, d8 plus 3, space, double bracket, closed, HP healed. Let's test that. Notice here, what we put in the curly brackets is now what is asked for in this prompt. We put in a 2, and it works. A lot of paladin spells are easy, not so for other classes. Let's use Fireball as an example. If a spell includes an attack, just do the attack roll like in Ares' attack before. But Fireball has a dex save for the target. We can tell them this with our emote. /em casts Fireball with a DC 13 dex saving throw for half damage. Now they can roll their dex save and either take full damage or half. Okay, Fireball is level 3, and base damage is 8d6 with plus 1d6 for each level over 3. That could program easy. But let's make this a drop-down menu instead. To do this, after /roll, start a query like normal with question mark, open curly bracket, level. After that, add a bar. This shows we want a menu to choose options from and separates each option. Also, we can separate the option and the number or roll that represents with a comma. Our first option, 3, comma, 8d6, shows that at level 3, 8d6 are rolled. Do this for each of the levels and close it all with a closed curly bracket. Test. And done. Okay, let's go back to Cure Wounds. If you made a character sheet, you can go to that and make almost any macro. Here's what you do. Click the thing on the character sheet you want, in this case, Ares Cure Wounds. Run that once, and go to the chat. Press the up arrow. Now you see all the code the character sheet automatically sent to the chat when you clicked on that command. Copy it. Paste it in the macro. Test it. And done. I mentioned nesting. It's possible to nest macros you commonly use together. This means including multiple macros together into one macro. How? Hashtag. Just write the macro to use the other macro. Let's do an example. All attack rolls in 5e can have an advantage or disadvantage. We can do a macro to choose the correct d20 roll then and label it ATT. Let's go back to Ares Maul macro. Now we go to the line to make the to-hit roll. Replace the 1d20 part with hashtag ATT, followed by a space. This works even as part of an inline roll, so have fun with it. Alright, now for some neat extra tricks. If you want to play with fonts, you can at any time use asterisks to change fonts. Put them around the words whose font you want to change. One front and back makes it italic. 2 makes it bold. 3 makes it italic and bold. This won't work for anywhere the font is already italic or bold, so standard chat is fine.
but emotes don't work with it. And for extra easy stuff, let's go back to the macros. You can use any macro by typing hashtag macro name. However, there are two shortcuts. One is clicking the dice icon next to the macro. This runs it just like clicking on the character sheet would. To make it even easier, check the box that says in bar. And now look at the bottom left of your screen. You now have a button for that macro there. Click it. Same thing. If you are a player who struggles to remember their roles, do this. Better yet, if you are a very nice GM with these kinds of players, you can make these macros for them and scroll down on the screen for editing that macro. There is a section to choose which player that macro is visible to. Now, that player only needs to go to their collections page, and the macro is there where they can just use it or check in bar to make it a button. There's some more info on macros, but a lot of it is connected to tokens, something we will cover next time, so look forward to that. In the meantime, a big thanks to our patron, Master of Eagles and Turner of Wood, Michael. See you next time.